ALTBAYS. ALTBAYS. ALTBAYS.
Kia ora, we're live. ALTBAYS show brought to you by ALTBAYS.nz. You're watching us right now on YouTube, and if you are watching us right now on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our channel. That really supports the team. My name is Leo Magri. We've been doing this for 1 year. We started on the 14th of February 2022. We started live streaming 3 times per week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we have done 160 shows so far, which is pretty cool. Now we are live streaming every Tuesday and Thursday. I work at the Mercury Bay Art Escape. I'm a drummer, and Taylor and we came from Brazil. We've been here for 10 years in New Zealand, and we're having a lot of fun with a video productions company, and now we're also publishing this beautiful thing here called Coromine magazine. Look at this. It's a collaborative project. We have a lot of cool people involved, beautiful writers and artists getting together to share their thoughts. Isn't it the Coromando an amazing place? So you can check Coromine at coromine.nz, or if you are in the peninsula, you will find the magazine in most of the establishments, cafes, and supermarkets. So make sure to grab your copy. And if you are a business owner, support the team. Put an ad there. It's not an easy life, you know, to be independent and do your thing. So we really appreciate when you help out small businesses. Speaking of small businesses, Gabrielle cyclone made a big mess in our area. A lot of the roads are closed. It's been pretty tough for the people who live here. So if you are out there, make sure to support local businesses. Buy local. Support the people. Be nice to people. Be gentle. Okay? Check with your neighbor, see if things are fine, your family, make sure that everybody is happy. It hasn't been easy, but one thing that I learned in these 10 years is that Kiwis are very resilient, and I appreciate that. So thank you so much for everyone who called the ALTBAYS crew to make sure that we were okay, and we're trying our best to do the same. It's been a cool journey. We are a podcast, obviously, so you might be listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. If you're not, you can join those platforms and subscribe to our channel too. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and the Madhouse TikTok, obviously. Okay. On my left, we have the beautiful teacher, educator, musician, man of 1,000 skills and a very peculiar sense of humor, Mr. Fabian Roberts. Hi.
I feel like the very peculiar sense of humor is probably the only accurate thing there. 1,000 skills.
Well, I haven't counted them, but I would say you got a few.
Is playing a couple of beats on the drums count as a skill?
Yeah.
I'll take it. All right, so then probably 1,000. I can do a couple of things.
Walking without stumbling.
And breathing.
Looking after 2 children. That's amazing. And they're still alive?
They are still alive.
Pretty good, must say.
Well, I hope so. I mean, imagine that for a reveal. Oh, live on ALTBAYS. My life is over.
Great. See, that's what I meant with peculiar sense of humor.
I probably should have apologized also. I did not contact you to see if you're okay. I was so self-absorbed and self-obsessed with my own leaky house that I didn't. And
I saw you on the next day after the flood, and I imagined that you would have some trouble there. Was it too bad for you, or was it?
It was annoying and frustrating. Again, there's so much worse happening with the storm across New Zealand. We can't really complain. We got off. No one was harmed. And hopefully the insurance company come in and just make sure we're watertight again in the future. But it's been a bit dramatic. And Whitty, we got some closed roads. We got some difficulties and some flooding through houses. But the Hawke's Bay, the images you see from there are just shocking.
Shocking. Yes. And speaking of the arts, have you heard about the Mercury Bay Art Escape, sir?
I have seen the ads, the posters. I've heard people talk about it. I'm actually a member of the email chain, so I get the emails every once in a while, but I've never attended. There you go, shock, horror. This is my 6th year in the Coromandel, full-time in the Coromandel, and I've never attended. I am an antisocial, non-art-based, man of 1,000 skills and peculiar sense of humour. I guess one of my skills is avoiding the art escape, but I think I should I should cut that one. I should
I
add
think-
the skill of attending.
This year's the year, maybe, yeah.
I'll add that to my quiver.
And I'm sure you know a lot of the artists, which is a cool thing. So
I'm learning, but I would like to learn more about this personally. If there was only some way I could find out more about it. Any ideas?
so lucky. You're such a lucky man. Because tonight we are having a good chat with our friend Jane Parson. Hello, Jane.
Hello.
How are you?
Very well, and thank you very much for having Art Escape on.
Was that a good segue to get to you? It felt very natural to me.
No, thank you. Thank you. No, we're all gearing up for the first 2 weekends in March, and we've got quite an uphill battle though with all the roads and the dramatic effects of Gabrielle. And so it's we're looking for support from the locals, as you're saying, Leo, that you're dependent very much on local support, and I think that's what Art Escape are going to be really looking for the first 2 weekends in March, and also for our big opening, which is at Hot Waves on March the 3rd.
There you go. Opening is the gala night, right?
Yes,
Nice.
yes,
I love that.
Yes, the gala opening
Gala.
Yes, that's when we have one artwork from all of the artist members, and there are 40 artists members from throughout the Mercury Bay area. One artwork from each of them is put on display at Hot Waves, and the opening night we have guest speaker Linda Hallinan, the gardening guru, and a great night, wonderful food from Hot Waves. And all the artists will be there, or most of the artists who can get there will be there, and that exhibition, the showcase exhibition, is on at Hot Waves right through until Easter Monday.
That's a good amount of time.
Good stretch of time.
Cool. Jane is an artist and a printmaker, and you have been part of the trust for 12 years. Is that correct?
Yes, I had one little sort of gap off for a little while, but back on again from beginning of last year.
Cool. So before we dive deep into the Mercury Bay Art Escape world, I just want to say thank you to our beautiful supporters from Slice Baby for bringing some awesome, delicious kai. So if you are visiting the Coromandel, and you should, make sure to check them out. Slice Babe NZ, 23 Albert Street. They make this delicious sourdough pizza based, and I'm gonna add them to our story on Instagram. So thank you so much, Mike. Beautiful family. Mwah. Thank you, Fabian.
Slice, baby.
Yeah, it's
Well, I
amazing.
should
It's
say,
really, really good.
The jalapenos tonight packed a punch. Before the show, I'm not going to have one live because I just started sweating up a storm.
I think
and all those capers, they're fantastic.
fancy. Yeah. I think Mike does it on purpose. He puts
yeah.
all the jalapenos. He's like, before this guy starts, let's do the real test with them.
It does clear me out a bit. Yeah, it's
I
lovely.
love it. It's a delicious pizza. So, okay, Jane, just before we get some more information, can you tell us what the Mercury Bay Artscape is? Because I believe some of our listeners actually are not familiar, or they just moved to the Coromandel. They don't know what the Mercury Bay Artscape is all about. So I prefer if you explain to us, please.
Well, it started way back in 2006, and two artists, Dave Fowle and one of our Hahei artists, Betty Collings, got together and had a art and culture weekend. And they did that for 2 years running, and realised that it probably had legs because it was very popular. So it was obviously going to have some push through for further development, and so it expanded from there. And in 2011, it was we formed a trust, and moved on from there, and it's grown from 20 artists. Fluctuates a little bit. This year we've got 40 artists.
Wow.
So it fluctuates a little bit with people coming and going, and but everybody, all the artists who are members, and they all pay a membership fee each year. They have to reside or have property within the Mercury Bay area, and we've expanded that area a little bit so that it's sort of Tairua or Hekawai, right through past Kuatunu to Matarangi, and then out to Opito as well. So it's it's a big tour if one wants to go and spend just one weekend racing around various artists. So it's a good weekend trip. And we produce the guide, which
I'll show one here.
You're showing
in the camera.
there.
Yeah, I'm flicking through it.
So visitors can select which artists they want to go and see, or which areas they want to sort of place their tour in and around. And that's
so Jane, I just want to make sure that I got this right. So the main point, the cool thing about the Artscape is that the people who appreciate the arts, they get the chance to go and visit the studios. Is that correct? Like the place where the artist is actually thriving and creating. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, there are some studios that, because as the nature of the Coromandel, some of them are just you're not able to quite get to them. So the artists, an artist like Sally Salmons, for instance, over at Hot Water Beach, she's got an amazing studio, but it's right up the top of a very winding little sort of narrow pathway. So she does most of her showing. Does an amazing display down in her big double garage. So there's a health and safety thing that has to be sort of come into it. But yes, the main thrust is for people to be able to go and visit an artist in their working studio and just see where they create and where they get their creative urges from and inspirations and materials and, the whole sort of setup. I mean, we do, most of us, tidy up our studios a little bit. I mean, you wouldn't want to see mine at the moment. It is just a total and complete shambles, but and it would be a health and safety
Maybe it would
problem.
be even more appealing to people if you don't tell the artist when people are coming.
It could be. it could be, yes.
and that was another thing that I was thinking. I'm like, wow, that must be an interesting one to deal with the personalities, because some artists might love the idea of opening their house and showing where they live, but I guess some artists, they might be a bit like, oh man, they're gonna see, like my house, they're gonna see where all these things are coming up. So it's also an exercise for them to put themselves out there, right?
Very definitely. Very definitely.
How do you feel about that? How is your feeling when you have to open your house and have people come in to share, because it's so personal?
I don't mind. I just love creative people, and I love creating, so I don't mind. But yes, that's very definitely a point. There are some who find it very difficult to be able to, welcome people in and show them, and some people feel very secretive about their techniques and how they go about their art, it's something that quite a few of them have to cope with.
I'm interested to see if any of them have the John Cage approach and just start the most obscure. So you come into the studio, how do you do it? Well, I make an explosive and I put it inside an instrument, and then I throw it out the window, and then I throw the paint down and see what happens. And then this is it.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Do we have different art forms? So like visual arts, pottery. So how wide is the...
Oh, it's very wide.
Medium?
Medium.
Yeah, medium. Yeah, it's we've got photography, potters, printmakers, painters, jewelers. Oh gosh, who else is there? Oh, we've got Marion Manson, who makes the most amazing art books, and does works with botanical ink. She grinds up various flowers and adds different sort of household chemicals, a lot of them, or really not chemicals, but even some of the things that she uses to keep or to make the dye really come out of the flowers and the petals and things, and she creates artworks on paper from those inks that she makes, that's sculptors. Dave Fowle's doing sculpture as well as his painting. He's in Whitianga.
By the way, was a guest.
Oh, was he?
On our show.
Great.
Taylor will probably can check the number, but it shouldn't be hard to find Dave Fowle. And it was an amazing day because he was finishing his project.
Over 100 portraits. Yeah.
He filled up our studio with portraits. And that was a very cool show.
Yeah.
Lovely guy.
No, No, he didn't. No, and well, he was one of the founders of Art Escape, so it's wonderful having him back again. He's had a little bit of a gap away, but it's great to have him back again.
I've got sort of two questions I really want to bounce to from earlier, but you talk about the anxiety,
Sorry,
perhaps.
72? ALTBAYS show
72.
72 with Dave Fowler. There you
72,
go. 72.
You talk about how nervous it must be, people coming into your creative space. But of course, what happens on the 3rd of March, on that Friday night at Hot Waves, is the first step of you bring one piece from your creative space to a different space, and you've only chosen one piece. How difficult it must be to go, okay, of my work from this year or this period of time I'm working, which one, out of context, best represents me or best represents an idea? Because it may not be your best work, but it might be your best display model, your one that will bring people there. I can't imagine that challenge. Is there, for you, whichever one you've chosen here to bring at Hot Waves, was it a difficult choice, or did you know when you started it which one it would be?
It was a difficult choice for me because I've had a slight change in direction, and sort of midway through the year. So
please
I've got
me.
sort of almost sort of two bodies of work, I work in a medium which is called which is oil and cold wax medium, and you mix oil paints with cold wax, and you layer it. And you have to. There's a timing factor, and amongst other things with it that you have to do with your layering, because otherwise, if you work too much in wet on wet, it can end up to be absolute mud. And I've been using this medium for about 2 years now, but and struggling a little bit with it. And I suddenly had a breakthrough about 6 months ago. And it really made my heart sing.
Sorry, was the breakthrough throwing it out the window and giving up, or was the breakthrough a technique that
just
made the
getting
medium better?
Just getting a technique, just finding my way, basically.
Is there a secret you can reveal, or is it
no,
hush hush?
No, it's not. It wasn't. It was just I was sort of doing things too realistically. And I just kept thinking, this is not me. This is not me. What am I doing? What am I doing? And then, and so I'd trash the thing and start another one, or just go over another old one. And then finally one day, almost sort of through a bit of a bad temper, really, I suddenly struck it. So I've got so my choice for the showcase exhibition was a bit of a difficult one, because I was thinking, well, I've got these sort of two bodies of work. What am I going to do here? This is a bit ridiculous. I can't, change everything for the whole art escape. But there is a bit of a continuity that runs through them. But yes, it can be. And not only for me, it's a difficult choice as to which one you're going to put into into showcase, because it's a very important exhibition, because a lot of visitors go to Hot Waves to look at the showcase and then decide which artists they're going to visit. Yeah. So you don't want to put, no artist puts in a bad work. It's that's their showcase.
Do you feel then that to continue on this run you've got, do you have to get into that frustrated mindset going, okay, I'm going to get frustrated and a bit annoyed by a medium, and that's where you find yours in a sense of rage? Or have you managed to find that perfect mix while still being the lovely self that you are now?
I don't know. Sometimes I think you just need a little bit of that aggro, or a little bit that being cheesed off, to think, well, who cares? Go for it.
That's right. Sounds like a punk rocker.
Sounds like a punk rocker. Jane, I have a question for you. You mentioned that artists, they pay a membership. Mm-hmm. So how is the process to choose who is going to be part of the Mercury Bay Art Escape? So are they selected first and then they pay for the membership, or anyone can pay for the membership and then they are selected? How does that part work? No,
we called for new members towards the end of June, and it goes up on a website, a lovely new website, and the form is there to fill in. And as I said before, the main criteria really is that you have to be living or have a definite association with the area, and And from there, the applications, you have to submit photographs of your work, and from that, a selection committee visits the artist and goes through the other criterias of membership and what's required for open studios especially. And then the membership is either accepted or encouraged to develop further and have another go next year, come back next year. So that's how we do it. There is a selection committee that vets all the art, and it works well. It works well. It's always been that way.
Because it's by paying for the membership, you guaranteed to be in all the medias that are putting the word out about your work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because nowadays, I guess we rely a lot on social media, on the internet, but not all artists are great when it comes to putting themselves out there. So when you're part of a group that is doing their job, I think it's quite relevant, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can, we've got the website, so a lot of artists don't have their own websites, so they get a page on the website which they can show probably up to about 12 images of their work, and it gives the instructions on how to contact them, and any artist from Art Escape can be contacted year round. That's from the guide that's produced as well. The member gets listed with an illustration, as you can see, each one on this new format that we've got.
Yep.
And all the social media that we put out. We work on Facebook and on Instagram, with frequent posts for that. And we also have we have area representatives who in each area, artists who are in charge of looking after the artists in each area, and so we get a lot of meeting together of artists, and there's a lot of collegial interaction between the artists as well, and that's been probably one of the most interesting things that I've observed in the years that I've been with Art Escape, because in the first few years, whenever we had a get together of artists, it was all very much sort of, she's painting a bit like me, or I don't want to give away that secret, or just quite what's going on here. And the last few times when we've actually had to say, it's over, go home, please stop talking. Everybody's been having a great time, all getting along so well together, and a lot of so-called secret touring, quite a lot of mentoring goes on as well.
That was something I wanted to ask you about. So with this big criteria, and it's quite an extensive criteria, it means you really have to be established, practicing, and really building on a repertoire of work over a number of years, I imagine. So with that quality in the room, I imagine with what Leo may have referred to earlier with this criteria, young artists, up-and-coming artists that would want to come along and take advantage of the expertise, because 40 experienced people that met a criteria that's quite demanding of them, there must be so much knowledge, a wealth of knowledge that a person coming out of high school, or maybe a couple of years away from that, could they buy in? How do they get that? How can they participate in a way that gets them ready for that life as an artist?
Well, the essential thing is, anyway, for any person, no matter when they pick up doing whatever art, whatever media that they want to use, is that they keep doing it, that they keep practicing it, because it's and keep exploring what they're doing, pushing themselves to develop further. It's not a case of just this is what I'm going to do and I'll stay doing this. If you keep pushing yourself, it's a big road of development that you've got to do as an artist. But for young people, you'll know at the school, for instance, at Mercury Bay Area School, that the Art Escape have a scholarship that is granted every year, and that goes to one student in the year 12 year, and through that they get mentoring. They can choose 2 artists that they admire from within Art Escape stable, and they are mentored and have spend some time painting or whatever the media is that they want to explore with those artists, and they also get to display a work at the showcase exhibition as well.
Was that at the following year?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm just on that because I'm curious and I'm a bit of an oddity in that sense, peculiar sense of humour. With these students getting a scholarship, say they were a painting medium,
Yeah.
do they ever say, I'd like to be mentored by someone who sculpts things, something completely different as a different muse or a different angle that they want to take on?
Yeah.
Do people often do that?
Yeah. No, we've had that too, because I'm in a printmaking group, Express Artists, which used to be called Printers Combined, and we meet at the Hekawai Hall. And we've a couple of times we've had have students or the scholarship people come. They've been painters and they've come to see what printmaking is all about. And printmaking, of course, is all about mark making, which extends into painting as well. So that's quite possible.
Cool.
It could be, very different. They might want to explore something more in 3D rather than in sculpture or something like that, rather than painting, and that's just fine. It's all in the visual arts field, so we welcome it.
Were you born in New Zealand, Jane?
Yes.
Yes. What part of New Zealand?
I was born down in the South Island, and come from a little village called Aubrey, down on the edge of the Mackenzie Country, and grew up in amongst the tussocks down there.
And you have you lived in other countries as well? Have you done some traveling around?
I've done quite a lot of travel in time, and my husband and I lived in San Francisco for 7 years, and went to Los Angeles with his job, and for 3 months, and came back 7 years later, and 3 children. With 3 children.
I hear amazing things about how artistic and vivid and colorful San Francisco is. How was the time there?
Oh, wonderful. Just great. Loved it.
What are the highlights for people who are considering a trip to San Francisco? What would you recommend?
Oh, there's lots to do in the city, and there's an amazing art gallery there, the San Francisco Modern Art Museum there. Gallery at least, and also getting out into the hinterland, up over to Sausalito and up into the vineyards. It's just good fun.
And
it was good fun.
doing all these rounds and going to places and meeting people who are probably many artists and people who appreciate the arts. How is the thing with like the way that New Zealanders appreciate and consume art compared to other? It's hard to compare, but like how is the thing in New Zealand, like the markets for arts?
Oh, I wasn't really involved in art so much when I was in San Francisco, other than doing a watercolor course there and a couple of other small art courses. So I wasn't really involved so much there. I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be all that different.
Do we get a lot of people from overseas coming to? Well, now is a tricky time because of what's happening in New Zealand. But is it a common thing to have people from overseas coming to the Coromandel?
Oh, well, often they're brought as guests by people who Aucklanders, people from Hamilton, who've got batches here, who have got overseas guests staying with them. So yes, quite often. For the open studios, we do, yes, and quite a lot for open studios. We have people from Wellington, from Hawke's Bay, Christchurch, a lot from Auckland. Our main visitors would be the Coromandel, Auckland, Tauranga, Bay of Plenty, and sort of in general. And Waikato, from the Waikato.
I'm curious about the market for artwork these days, and I imagine for a long time has been. I'm going to make a full assumption here with no backing. Are the people that purchase art generally 20 years minimum into a career or into a job, so they have money to spend and they have excess dollars, so they're in the 40s, 50s, 60s realm? Is that the general purchaser of art, Coromandel-wide?
It's mixed. I don't think you'd say there'd be a definite, age group that buys more art. No, I mean, a lot of younger people are setting up a house and getting their interior decoration right, or they just appreciate art. It's not. It's a pretty wide age group market. Yeah.
Assumption thrown out the window. I shouldn't have assumed.
Have you got into
What did you assume?
Well, I assumed it was sort of the 40 plus market in terms of. Again, I'm not a visual art person. I drew a butterfly recently with my daughter, and
good.
It was the first
Great.
picture that apparently the first picture I've ever drawn where it didn't look frightening. Thank you, Taylor, for hitting the drum button. But it didn't look frightening, and then I drew something else afterwards, and it also didn't look frightening. And I can make flowers look terrifying. I don't know how, but I drew a beautiful butterfly.
Maybe that's your niche. Maybe you should go for terrifying flowers.
Yeah.
I think I'd just be disheartened if everyone tells me they're terrifying and awful and just gross. Or why does your brain work like that? I think I'd get sad.
When you went to those cool countries in Europe, and actually you lived in the islands, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how was the your interaction with the arts, Mr. Roberts?
Oh, I think art in, say, Rarotonga, where I lived for 2 years, 2015-16, art generally was far more prominent. The uniforms had local art on them, carvings, floral patterns. But then I think some of the places that made art on the island or made clothing with designs, they designed for the Olympic teams. So these were global fashion trends that went out there. But just having art around that, everyone could draw, I think, and it was valued more because it was cultural. It wasn't that it was they were doing art because they were different or special. They're almost doing art because that's what we do. And so I think the art classes were always very large classes all the way through because it was something that was very valued. A small population, of course, only a couple of schools on the island. But yeah, I think it was valued a lot more. And of course, anywhere there's people working, as Jane said before, if you keep doing it and you spend time, they go in their own directions and tangents. Yeah. Charlotte Cousins, who's the head of art over in Rarotonga, she's an amazing artist. I think started as a pencil sketcher. If you're watching, which you're not, but if you ever do, which you probably won't, she's an amazing artist. Then branched out into paint and all kinds of, so her house is full of beautiful artwork. And her kids, her students, they produce really nice stuff. But I think that's where it wasn't art as in go to a gallery, it was there's more stuff here. Of course there were artists on the island.
Would you engage in art classes when you were a child, Jane?
Good question.
Was it a thing for you? Were you a good art student?
I was I had a fantastic art teacher at school, and I think you probably hear a lot of artists say that there was somebody somewhere along the line who, just quietly inspired them, kept them going. They related to very well as an art teacher. And then, and as a result of that, after I left school, I did a graphic design, or as it was called, commercial art in those days, just showing my age. But and worked in advertising agencies doing illustrating and things like that. So, and then went away from it for a while and didn't really come back into painting. And until we came down to live here at Hahei.
How was graphic designing before the boom with computers and technologies?
Gosh, it was laborious, I can tell you. It was now when I look back and sort of think of Letraset and
give me an example of a day at work as a graphic designer in the what year? Give me an idea of like when technology was not even like a big thing for you there.
Oh,
tell me a day. Of work.
What was I'm talking back sort of in 1970.
Okay.
And yeah.
So how was it? Like, how was a day of work? Like, tell me.
Well,
a graphic designer in the 70s.
Well, the ad agency that I was, one of the ad agencies that I worked for, we did the 4 Square ads. So it was a case of, you know, drawing packets of Persil and you know, line drawings of Persil and
That's the laundry,
you know, and
powder.
Yeah, and yeah, sorry.
That's all good.
And various grocery products and things like that. And then if you wanted it larger, you had to send it off to a photographic place to have them enlarge it for you and magnify it, and it'd come back all printed, you know, up on a piece of paper, and you'd get out some stuff called cow gum and stick it down onto you know, your basic artwork.
Amazing.
Long way away from what we can do now with moving things around on the screen and, you know, changing shapes and
it's interesting
colours.
because it seems to me like a lot of the characters in the shops and the stores in New Zealand, like, they have been a thing for many years. So I guess a lot of those artworks, they were made in the past, you know, people keep tweaking them, but like they stick to the originals in a way, right?
Yeah, no, and well, especially, you know, some of the, you're probably thinking of some of those old posters and things, the tourist posters that have really come back into their own as well. You know, the big sort of areas of flat colour and things that they had on those early posters advertising sort of, you know, Lake Wakatipu and Mount Cook and things like that. It was, yeah.
Well, I immediately think of the Michelin Man, you know, the marshmallow sort of man that sells you the tyres. Obviously, the 4 Square fellow. Did he have a name? I can't remember now.
Oh, I can't remember if he did. No.
But I suppose it was also the era of cartoons. So there were cartoons with images that people related to. So you get, you know, Warner Brothers characters. You get one of them and, you know, advertising your Porsche. Well, you know, it's going to be a great thing for Porsche because all the kids will grow up knowing it. Or was it Porsche? Did I get it wrong?
Porsche. When it comes to Maori art, to kapahaka, like to Maori styles, was it something that you got some influence from, or you were always like paying attention and seeing how that would be part of a Kiwi lifestyle?
But not in my childhood, but it's wonderful to see the development of it that's coming on through now, and it. Well, it's fantastic. My years of going through school, no, there was very little in the way of Maori art and or even being sort of recognised. But thank goodness, it's all it's evolving now, and we're seeing so much more of it in many different forms and many different media. It's great.
Was it not even mentioned, or would get to a point that like, don't talk about it. Don't.
Well, in my school days, no, it wasn't mentioned. Thank goodness that's gone. It's all part of us now being New Zealanders.
Amazing.
Can I throw it back at you, Leo, and
Yes,
go,
please.
what was art to you growing up in terms of the visual art? Was it valued where you grew up, or is it, because you talk about, you know, there's the carnival time where everything's street art and fun, but all year round, is art valued or seen?
Brazil is very colorful. Brazil has so many different states. So if you go to different areas of the country, you will have like small, you know, the states are kind of like different countries inside a big country. So you will have many different art forms, and we love the music. I think that Latin African influence that we had, you know, like with 40% of all the slaves brought to the Americas coming to Brazil really makes a strong African influence to a country. So we have a lot of the music going on all the time, and the art, and the indigenous influence, it's not as strong as it should be. It's something that unfortunately we keep putting it down, which is a shame. That's why for me, when I'm in New Zealand, I feel so good. I know that it's still a very slow thing that is happening with appreciation towards Maori culture, but I always remind Maori people and Kiwis, I'm like, compared to a lot of places in the world, New Zealand is doing great, you know, because we just had a president that was doing completely the opposite, trying to eradicate indigenous people and their rights. So being in a country that is doing the opposite, a big push like Pakeha and people who are not even Maori wanting to learn the language and learn the culture. It's so valuable for a nation, in my view. Actually, for the world, it's not just a nation. Like it's a very important thing.
It's a really interesting point that you brought up there, of the idea that the indigenous people of the area being overshadowed by the slaves of people. So the art forms that have taken over are not of the rich, the wealthy, the prominent, the large historical backgrounds. They have their own very harsh history that they've gone through and lived through generations. So it's almost, you don't want to say, oh, the indigenous has been, pushed down by the powerful. It's just been taken over by sheer numbers, sheer volume of people that experience it. It's just a strange idea to sort of paint that picture of the brush hasn't been wiped clean by, I've heard of the idea of whiting out cultures. No, it's, other cultures were whited out and they were pushed into another culture and just mixed up the colors.
And that's the beautiful thing about the art, right? It tells a story, like you can understand a lot about a people or a country just by watching their history, like the art history, how things evolved there. So, I find a lot of value in going back and checking what my country was doing and comparing. It's one of those moments that it's worth it, comparing with all the countries, like what were they doing, what was happening in the artistic movements at that time that made it so relevant.
So I want to jump on that and fire a question over. So with art having history and a story you can follow, all right, this may be contentious. All right, is photography art?
Yes.
And from the perspective of tangibly touching and putting your life's emotions, the feelings, thoughts of the day, of the week, of the history behind you, to suddenly like rescinding that position and going, what's there, and finding something that is visually encapsulating of an idea and clicking yes. And I know I'm probably very underselling it here. This may be contentious. All those photographers out there are going to start typing away. But is photography art? In the most earnest sense, I'm asking this question.
Yeah, it is. It's the correlations. I mean, you've got your composition that you have to look at. You've got your colour and textures that can be brought out in the photograph. Yeah, definitely art.
Definitely art. You should watch our show with Ian Priest when he came here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I guess
talking
I need
about
to.
the filters and the beautiful things that you can do actually when you're taking the picture, not just after, because the editing process, of course, it's valid, but amazing photographers, they will do the work.
Yeah.
Because that's something I wanted to ask in terms of as a painter, you would have endless techniques with hand control and hand-eye coordination and a vision for what would come. But I suppose as a photographer, seeing like going, I can make more out of what's there. I can bring out those textures, those characteristics.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting difference of visual form.
Yeah.
Do they have more vision of vision of what you can see versus a visual artist who makes what?
Yeah, I think. I think that's a good point. Yeah, I think they probably do. Looking through a little, aperture thing and trying to get the composition right or get it reasonably right anyway,
because they're really looking at their finished-ish product as opposed to the process, which could take months.
Yep. Oh yeah.
How do you know when you're done with a piece of art, when you're finished?
Well, that's a
great question.
It's a question that's asked a lot, and I don't know. You just do. Your heart suddenly tells you that it's done. And I think too, well, for my own work anyway, I usually because I paint in a what everybody would call a studio, but I call it my bolt hole. And when I'm done, which is up in a barn just adjacent to the house, and when I think I'm done, I take it down to the house and sit it on the mantelpiece. And it always, when I get it from the studio into my living area, that's when I can tell, or I go, nope, back up it goes, back up to the bolt hole.
It depending on what's happening politically in a country, we will have a bigger push for art subjects, like at school and what is taught in history. So what do you guys have to share your thoughts on the importance of having art subjects in the curriculum and teaching art history for children?
The arts generally, not just visual, but I think it's very important for development, and especially for children through the primary schools, and then and on from there. But it's a very important part of life. It's and I think a lot of people don't really realise how much the arts really do infiltrate into their lives. I mean, you watch television, it's art. There's lots of different arts that you're watching right there in one program, from the cameraman, the photographer, and the studio set,
you have
and
the makeup, the
lighting.
costume.
Yeah, it's all there. The arts should be a lot more important, should be placed on the arts and the development of children in our schools.
Mr. Roberts, as a teacher?
Having been in education for my entire life, having never left schools, I have had the privilege of being super confident my entire life, and in my professional life, I have been there after school and during school when every deputy principal, or in some sense principal, will give a tour to either an expert educational provider, a new family coming to the area. And of course, the number one thing they do is they show them the places. They show them around the school. And what are the family doing? Well, they're experiencing the sights and the sounds. So of course, you go to the beautiful arts studios and galleries, you go to the beautiful art spaces, and then you go to the music space and you see instruments, because good instruments look good, and a good place, a music place, looks good. Would you take them into a maths room? Yes, valuable, hugely valuable to education, undeniably. But it's not necessarily a visual feast or a sensory feast in the sense that the arts give you. Of course, there's also just the general smiling and vibe of the students. Of course, you're looking for the human experience. But I think that's a huge strength of the arts, that you get people that are comfortable in themselves or learning to be comfortable in themselves. So I'd say my perspective on the value of arts at schools, where are the highest people up in the school? Where are they putting their time and money showing people around? It's the arts. It's the bits that the parents go, this looks great, this feels great, it sounds great, the environment's nice. It's not a standard classroom for a generic social science, history, of course. And of course, all of those have their own art, as you say, Jane, art infiltrates everything. So of course, history is film and media, and the whole world is propaganda. People are influenced in every sort of way, but I think that's probably my response. Where do you take people to see the best things? The arts.
I like that. How is Hahei after Gabrielle's cyclone? Jane?
The beach is looking a bit scarred. Well, I shouldn't say a bit scarred. It's very, very scarred. There's a huge noise of chainsaws all around. It's been brutal, but wow, thinking of those people in Hawke's Bay, that's devastating. That's going to have ripple effects on us all for a long time. But yeah, it's our roading, ouch. And we've now got an extra scenic route, haven't we, to get here for visitors to come. That extra scenic route, and I mean, coming through the gorge is amazing, and out through the other farmland, coming on from Waihi and over to Whangamata. But yeah, all in all, everybody's pitched in, as they have all over Mercury Bay, really, and helping out neighbours, and whether it be suddenly discovering that you've got a way of boiling water quickly and you can supply coffee to all your neighbours.
Actually,
or
that's
whether
a lovely
it's
story. Can you tell us about the thermet?
Thermet.
The thermet. So can you tell
Oh,
us,
dear.
what is a thermet and how did you use it?
Well, I think somebody told me it's got another name now, but I haven't seen them around for ages. But I had this old rusting thermet, which it's a cylinder. It's a way of boiling water using a little bonfire underneath it. But fundamentally, it's a cylinder that's got two. How would I say? It's got two layers to it. There's and in between those two layers, which are watertight, you pour water in at the top of it so that the water goes all around the cylinder. In the centre of the cylinder is like a chimney, and at the bottom you sit it on a metal ring and light a little bonfire under it. So it doesn't have much depth of water all the way up that cylinder to heat, so it heats it very quickly.
You see a lot of surface area.
A lot of surface area. So well, not a lot of water. It was only 6 cups each time I boiled it up. But
6 cups of coffee.
6 cups of coffee. Wow, that was great on those days.
Hey, Jane, you inspired me with a thought before with regards to the Mercury Bay Art Escape with the Coromandel Peninsula at large. There must be local businesses that have e-bikes. There must be local businesses that have vans. Surely van tours or an e-bike tour of various branches. Because I'm thinking if there was a ferry landing, Cooks Beach, Hahei, Hotwater Beach, Whenua-Kite, e-bike tour to go to each of those locations.
Yeah.
Or there could be a Matarangi, Otama, or Pito and Kuaotunu band that you park up at, say, Luke's Kitchen, have a lovely kai, and then head around to all the bays on an e-bike. It'll be a lovely day tour.
Oh, great. Wonderful.
And so over the weekends that are available, come on, so if you're a young entrepreneur with more energy and drive and creativity than me, get on board and make this work, because I was thinking it should be like a brewery tour and visit the breweries on the way. But I feel bad for those last 3 houses on the trip that you visit. And you get people that have had 6 drinks along the way. Maybe they wouldn't be safe in that space.
I mean, you say the breweries, you go and get that organised over in the Hahei area and be into the poorhouse and have some of their wonderful beer and some of Jake's fantastic gin.
Yeah, and they're a sponsor, aren't they?
They are a sponsor,
lovely.
wonderful sponsor.
So that's another cool thing to mention. So the sponsors, how do they support the Mercury Bay Art Escape? Because it's a trust, and so what role do supporters play on this?
A huge role, because we get very little funding from really anywhere else other than local sponsorship. And also from the members' fees. And of course we try to keep the members' fees as low as we possibly can, and because it's all artists are striving and don't have large bank accounts, so the sponsors are very important. And it's through their links as well that we're able to reach out to some of their customers. Bailey's are our principal sponsor.
You've got a banded system, gold, silver, and sort of bronze type equivalent. Are they limited spaces for sponsors, or the more the merrier?
No, there's limited spaces.
So you get a fight over it. So if you want your name on the pamphlet, as everyone goes to the art galleries, 40 different venues. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. It is, and and the Baileys have been with us for a long time. They've been a wonderful supporter over the years, and we've got Guthrie Baron have been with us for several years, and Leah Jerkovic at Baileys in Hahei. She has been a great supporter.
I should say, for those that are listening from overseas, Baileys a real estate company in the Coromandel, so selling houses, businesses.
Yep. Yeah. And also Top 10 at Hotwater Beach, Top 10 Holiday Park.
One of the coolest places that we go to play music, actually.
Yeah.
Top 10 Holiday Park. Yeah. It's always very welcoming because people are already there. There's no commitment for them to go and enjoy the music, and every time that we play there, people sit on the grass and they appreciate the music. So that's very nice.
They've got some wonderful chalets there. They always seem to be fully booked up by visitors for open studios as well. So, and also we've got Lost Spring. So that's always a treat to go there.
Nice.
So and
Have we got all the names, please, Jane? Now is the time.
Yeah, and the Lifestyle Centre also.
Cool.
Out on with their 4 businesses all in one there with 100% electrical and their gift store, that's I think I've covered them all there, but they're all very important to us and we appreciate their support.
That's cool. It's a good opportunity for the people who are considering a trip to the Coromandel to support the region, support the local artists, and support the artists while they are alive.
Yes.
Right? Because it's such a, like, I love this question, not even a question, this conversation about like this interesting thing with humans of validating dead people. You know, like once they're gone, like suddenly the art gets so much more value, and I'm like, wow, we should be valuing those artists that are just next door and going there and recognizing them, right?
Yeah, and you know, as we said before, you know, one of the chief things about the open studios is that you can go and see the artists either working in their studios or see what their space is like and how, you know, what happens, how does it all get created.
You're spot on. You talked about the sponsors, but really for me, and what we talked about right at the beginning was get the local community on board. Being a sponsor is simply go and see the studio. If you like the art and it gels with you, buy it, or maybe talk about it and save up over time to buy it. But being a sponsor, just be engaged, be a part of the art, get some.
Yeah, no. And also another mention that I'll make too is that there's a new art gallery opening in Whitianga.
That's right.
Just down here in Monk Street.
Monique
Monique
Amazing.
Rush is opening on Saturday. And that's going to be mainly local art and her own art there. And during Art Escape, she's going to be exhibiting her own art there rather than having it at her studio. And she will have other Art Escape artists also intermingled with her own art. So that's a great move.
We need
Monique.
that. Shout out to I went there today to have a chat with her. Because I taught her son a few years ago. Yeah. And fantastic artist. So I went there to have a look. She's setting up beautifully and such an asset for our town. So that's good.
Yeah. Monique's actually been doing several commissions for people who've been buying in the waterways. And I forgot to mention that the waterways are also one of our sponsors. But she's been doing some quite big commissions for people who are building houses on the waterways. You know, big wall spaces.
Right.
Need it the right size to fit in there.
I thought they'd have a lot of glass in the waterways.
Nice light on those blank walls.
Oh, I see. A lot of light.
but you need some art.
You need the art on those blank walls.
Can't you just get a log from the beach and nail it up to the wall? That'll do. That'll do.
No.
Jane, so just remind us of the opening gala and which weekends we're having the Mercury Bay Art Escape before we wrap it up, please.
Yeah, it's the first 2 weekends in March. Every year it happens in the first 2 weekends in March, and the showcase exhibition opens with a gala evening on Friday, March the 3rd at 6 o'clock, and you can buy tickets online on the Art Escape website. And Linda Hallinan is the speaker. She will be talking about how the relationship between gardens and art, of course, you know, there's a lot of crossover there, once again, with, you know, composition and textures and layout and all those sorts of things. So the first 2 weekends in March, open studios.
Amazing.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah.
It will be.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you very much for having Art Escape.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Mr. Roberts, thank you.
Yeah, it's been kind of cool.
Good to learn some new things,
I kind of like art. You know, maybe I should get into it.
Maybe you should.
We'll be looking for you coming around in those first 2 weekends, and you too, Leo.
Yes. I'll do my best to be there for sure. We've been doing a lot with the magazine, with the show, but like that's what we're all about, you know, bringing artists together and doing cool things. So I feel like it's a good collaboration starting here now.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cool. And for you watching us, thank you so much for your support. We're back on Tuesday at 7 p.m. with Mr. Andrew Fagan from the classic band The Mockers. Yes, that's right. He's coming here, and we're going to have the legendary Stupidly joining us for this very special show. It's going to be fun, man. I wouldn't miss it. I'll see you at 7 on Tuesday. Peace.